If you've been in an ed tech training with me before, or anything even maybe tangentially related, you have heard me spout off about the Samr model. So it's not the only framework out there. There's other things like the Triple E framework, the TPAC framework, which is just the ones that off the top of my head. There's definitely others. But what the Samr model is it's a framework for self-reflection for how we're implementing ed tech in the classroom. So on the previous page, I said it really depends on how you use it. And it's all about the intentionality and the way the teacher uses it and implements it and why are you using technology. Maybe technology is not appropriate at this time and place. Maybe this is an opportune time to integrate it. We don't know. Really, that comes down to the teacher and why you're doing that and why you're choosing to do it and what the students are supposed to be learning, what the purpose of the activity is. And that's where Samr can really help. So if you know what the Samr model is, then just scroll down. Skip the rest of the video. All the instructions you need for the rest of this page are right here. Go for it. If you want to do your own research on Samr, if you're cool just reading it, just rock and roll. I'm going to give you a little bit of an example. And then no, I don't think I pulled up my slides. Dang. Are they over here? Doesn't matter. Well, yeah, sure. We'll use those ones. All right. I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of what the Samr model is, and then I'm going to go through the instructions, and then you can rock and roll. So Samr stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition. And again, framework for self-reflection, not an evaluation model. Reasonable people can disagree what substitution versus augmentation, blah, 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 blah is. Here's the way I like to describe it, because I'm a former ELA teacher, and I had my students writing a lot in my classroom, right? Well, we used to do it all offline, pencil, paper. There's a lot of people that are pushing to go back to that. We can get into that at some point if you want, but when we got Chromebooks in my classroom, we then moved to typing those papers, right? So that is straight substitution. If we just went from handwriting to typing, well, now it's just online. We are substituting an offline activity for an online activity with no functional change, which is the important part here, no functional change, but we might be enhancing the process. Kids might be able to type faster. It enhances the process because maybe they're not losing their papers, right? It's just enhancing that, but no real functional change. Eventually, we started to work on using the tools within Google Docs that were just embedded in there. So kids didn't have to go look up things in dictionaries anymore. They could use spell check. They could right-click the words. There's a whole bunch of the sources built in to those actual tools. They might use text-to-speech, right? As opposed to typing, especially for kids who find motor control is getting in the way of them doing the task or displaying what they know. And that's really important because I was not a typing teacher. I was not a handwriting teacher. I was a 7th grade ELA teacher. And if I'm thinking about the ELA standards, then my students can show proficiency in those standards by using speech to text. It's all about using the tools to get to the intended learning of that activity. And so using those tools in there augmented that. There was some functional improvement and enhanced the learning process. As we move from augmentation to modification, notice the difference here, enhancement versus transformation. We are now starting to redesign the task where we are here. Substitution, augmentation, we're talking about the learning process. Modification, redefinition, we start to think about learning itself. So if we're modifying that same task, we used to handwrite and then we're typing and now we're using other tools to enhance that process. Now what am I doing to deepen the learning? Well, I'm using the share button in my Google Doc to share across time and space with audiences that I didn't have access to before, for my students to get an authentic audience, to get real-time feedback, to modify and get feedback in the process of learning where it actually matters that they're giving feedback, not once they've turned the paper in, right? We are enhancing learning. We are redesigning the task in ways that we couldn't do that offline. Right? So it's not about typing the paper, it's about what we can do because we're using those digital tools. Then redefinition, we're doing things that were previously inconceivable. So we're rethinking entirely the act of writing. So there's nowhere in the 7th grade ELA standards, the old ones or the new revised ones that just came out in like a couple months ago, that says you have to handwrite or you have to write to meet those writing standards. Kids still need to read and write. Don't get me wrong, they still need to do long form writing, but we can meet some of those standards, a lot of those different standards, if we do things like record a podcast, a video series, an infographic, a presentation, something like that, instead of only writing papers all the time, right? But again, we are then using the technology in a way to transform that task into something that was previously inconceivable. The examples I was looking for before are some things that I use in presentations every now and then. Like if you think of a paper map, if you were to run that through the Samr model, it might look like this. You can pause the video to take a look at this if you want. There you go. See, time to click. Now you're back. This is also on the Padlet that I'm going to show you here in a second. But this is what the Samr model might look like when we just take it like an analog map. So we've got that offline map, and then substituting it might just be taking a picture of the map. No functional improvement. I just got it digitally now. Some advantages to that, but also some drawbacks, right? And then you can see the evolution there in as we go. Your task here, just to solidify the Samr model in your brain a little bit, it's right here, so I'm not gonna like really reiterate that a whole ton, but I want to show you a few things. If you click on this Google Doc, there are these 10 different scenarios. Okay, pick one, just one, and your job is to use this Padlet here, and you can see these purple posts are the Samr map that I was just showing you that just says it examples. Your job is to take this scenario, whatever scenario you choose. So let's say I say number 2, then I'm going to come to this Padlet, and I think number 2 is augmentation. I'm going to click this plus button here. I'm going to type my name, scenario number 2. I'm going to explain why this is augmentation. So scenario number 2 is augmentation because, and then when you post it, it's going to go in that column right here. And then you should be able to see other people's posts. If this is too small for you, notice I've got to scroll over here to see all of them. If you click this button in the top right-hand corner, that's going to open up the Padlet in a brand new tab, and you can see all of them. Okay, go for it. Once you're done, mark this page as done, move on to the next page.